Welcome to Read Alouds with Mrs. Na. Today I am so excited to read this book to you because as a teacher myself, I know that my students have felt very similar to this. This book that we are going to read through today is called My Teacher's Secret Life by Stephen Krensky, illustrations by Joanne Adinolfi. As I read this book, I want you to make connections with the text and connect them to your own life. See if you have ever felt the same way with your teachers. Can you tell me your teacher's name? My Teacher's Secret Life. For Joan. For my dearest big sister Donna and my dearest big brother James, who always inspire me, delight me, and care for me. That's by the illustrator Joanne. I know everything about my new teacher, Mrs. Quirk. Her first name is Isabel. She bites her lip when she's thinking hard. She has eyes in the back of her head in case we try anything funny. Look at the picture. Does your teacher really have eyes in the back of her head? What does it mean when this guy is saying that? Yeah, it means that teachers, we kind of have a sixth sense of knowing if you're trying to do anything you shouldn't be doing. We're able to catch it. Oh, these illustrations are very interesting. Once a week, Mrs. Quirk takes us to Miss Painter's art room. It's the only place in the school where we can make a mess on purpose. When Mrs. Quirk comes back, she doesn't always recognize us. The teacher's name is Miss Painter. Do you know what quirk means? I think it's trying to explain that Mrs. Quirk is a little quirky, a little strange, a little interesting. Why would Mrs. Quirk not recognize her students? Because if you're looking at the picture, you notice that they have made masks. Every day at 3 o'clock, Mrs. Quirk says goodbye to us. She doesn't have to leave though, because she lives at school with all the other teachers. So the kids are saying bye from the school bus. And what do you notice about the teachers? Yes, they're all staying. This must be Miss Painter. I see some paintbrush. This must be the gym teacher. I see a whistle. This must be the janitor because I see a broom. I'm not sure. Maybe this is a librarian. That looks like a principal because this gentleman is in a suit. We shall see. What I am doing is I am making a prediction. I am predicting. I'm thinking about what might be coming next. I am making conjectures. I can imagine what happens after we're gone. First, Mr. Crumple, the custodian, leads a trash patrol through the halls. Litter, he says, is no one's friend. So he's going through and he's making everyone clean up the trash. Mr. Crumple, like crumpling the papers. And custodian, I think a custodian is somebody who cleans up. So maybe like a janitor. Ooh, I was right. Well, I also thought it was a gentleman, but it's a miss. Then the gym teacher, Miss Whistle, makes everyone do exercises. Mrs. Quirk stands in the back because she has trouble touching her toes. Look at that picture. Can you try right now, everyone? Try keeping your legs straight and touching your toes. Can you try doing a push-up like Mr. Crumple is doing? Can you try lastly touching your toes while you're laying down like the principal? And this must be the librarian because I see books. All that running around makes the teachers hungry. The cafeteria staff cooks their meals, putting stuff together from the lunchtime leftovers. Potato puff soup and macaroni bread show up a lot. While the teachers eat, Mr. Stern, the principal, watches closely to make sure everyone behaves. Does your principal do that? Is your principal at your school pretty strict and stern? After dinner, the librarian, Mr. Peruse, reads stories aloud. Hey, he's doing what I'm doing. I would love to be Mr. Peruse. Miss Painter covers her eyes during the scary parts. Cover your eyes. Nothing frightens Mrs. Quirk, but she makes faces if the story is too mushy. Can you right now make a face of what you would make if you heard a story that's too mushy? Yeah, some of you are crinkling up your face. Later, the teachers return to their rooms. They all keep pajamas and inflatable mattresses in their bottom left desk drawer, the one that locks with the key. Sometimes the teachers have pillow fights in the hall. Mrs. Quirk swings her pillow like a baseball bat. The flying feathers usually make her sneeze. Big sleepover it looks like the teachers are having. At bedtime, Mrs. Quirk washes her face, brushes her teeth, and sings a lullaby to our fish. Can you raise your hand if that seems like your own bedtime routine? Sometimes she makes shadow animals in the moonlight before she falls asleep. Look at Mrs. Quirk just sleeping right next to the desks in her inflatable mattress. I wonder what time it is. Lately, though, I have been wondering if I know Mrs. Quirk so well after all. One Saturday, I saw her in the supermarket filling up her cart. I wondered what she was doing. There's always plenty of food in the cafeteria. Have you ever seen your teachers in the wild? Have you ever seen your teachers away from the school, like maybe at the supermarket or the movie theater? Yesterday, when I went to an ice cream shop with my family, I ran into one of my old 4th grade students. That was fun. I wonder if he ever thought I lived at school. Then last Tuesday, I saw Mrs. Quirk again trying on skates at the mall. She didn't look like a teacher one bit. I don't know what she did with the skates. She never wears them in class or at recess. Maybe she races down the hall late at night. Do you think that's what Miss Quirk does with her skates? Do you think that Mrs. Quirk lives at school? Do you suspect that your teacher lives at the school? This looks like Mr. Stern is sleeping with the little teddy bear. Yesterday was my biggest surprise yet. I saw Mrs. Quirk in the park with a strange man and a girl. The girl looked like Mrs. Quirk, only younger. And the strange man even put his arm around Mrs. Quirk. She didn't seem to mind. Okay, let's make some predictions here. Who do you think the strange man and a girl is? Let's start with the girl. She looks like Mrs. Quirk, but she's only younger. Who do you think it is? Yeah, I suspect that it's Mrs. Quirk's daughter. And who do you think the strange man is? What strange man would put his arm around Mrs. Quirk? Yes, if she didn't seem to mind, it must be Mr. Quirk, her husband. I've been watching Mrs. Quirk extra carefully ever since. What in the picture gives you a clue that he's really watching her closely? He's got like a detective hat on, a Sherlock Holmes coat, and a magnifying glass. Mr. Stern looks very suspicious. In class, she acts just the same. She still knows who pushed who first and who tracked in all the mud from the playground. And she still bites her lip while she's thinking. Mrs. Quirk must figure she has everyone fooled, but not me. Does your teacher also know who pushed who all the time? I know Mrs. Quirk has a secret life. I just wonder when the other teachers will get suspicious. This is a really fun book. So the little boy knows that Mrs. Quirk does have a secret life, but he means that she has her own life apart from living at school. Do you think your teachers live at school? Maybe you guys should write your own story about your teacher's secret life. Thanks for reading aloud today with me, Mrs. Na. I can't wait to read with you again next week.